Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. It's the one and only V, the Guerrilla, coming to you live on this edition of Rogue News ESW. And what just happened?
Sorry, you got muted for a second. You're there,
Rogue
though.
News. I'm here.
That's on me.
With my main man, Cowboy. Bring yourself into the screen, Cowboy, so they see both of us. It works out better that way. Yes, that's better. I don't feel alone. It feels weird talking by myself, you know? Anyway, guys, check us out, roguenews.com.
A lot of people want V the Gorilla to talk by himself, though. I guarantee you they miss those, like, solo V the Gorilla.
Well, I'm coming back for the solo stuff, man. I'm going to start doing, I think I'll start next week. Start doing, like, daily, 10 and 20-minute shows on just myself, where I sit around and I talk about things, and I rant. And I rage.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's how it is. Anyway, check us out, roguenews.com. Follow us on Twitter, Rogue News ESW, Rogue News ESW on Twitter, a.k.a. X. And also, check out the algorithm that we have available. It's free for download from our paid sponsor, AlgoFactory.tech. AlgoFactory.tech. Trade like a hedge fund pro, AlgoFactory.tech. And with that being said, Cowboy, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
Doing good. Exciting morning in markets. I'm not sure exactly what was said, but I think Jerome Powell said something very bullish over at Jackson Hole, and the market, exploded, and it was fun.
Let's get into Powell. Let's get into. Yesterday we did some talking about. I think it was Dave Cullen, the professor from I forgot what college it was. He was on Tucker. Interesting. He's actually mentioned platinum on that interview. I don't know if you heard the full interview. I've been talking about platinum for years, man. I've been telling, hey, dude, it's a very thinly traded market. I've been saying it for years. It's very important. I'm not giving investment advice, but hint, hint, wink, wink. I like platinum. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Anyway, lots going on. Global trade war heats up. And there's so much that's occurring, man. So I guess, where do you want to start, bro? Let's just pick something and let's get into it.
I mean, the column interview was interesting because it's all stuff that we've been saying on Rogue going back years. But the difference is it's on Tucker Carlson, so people are going to listen.
Correct.
Right. So, I mean, so many things. I have a list and I've got timestamps. Anything from, like the Vegas shooting to Hawaii to, the coup. And they don't censor themselves in any way. And even at one point he says it. It's like the gag has been lifted. The gag order's been lifted. They could just talk. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if I said certain words on here, I bet you and I might get canceled. But it's Tucker, so Tucker has friends, right?
Correct.
So
has friends.
Yeah, and it's Velas just said it in the comments here. He said it here. Tucker, it's on Tucker Carlson because it's allowed to be said on Tucker Carlson. You listen to Rogue, so you hear it before that. Yep. No, exactly. And that's Velas is as responsible as anybody else for getting us some of that info early. So, but yeah, man, what do you want to do first? You want to go into Column's interview?
Yeah, let's get into that, and I want to commentate on it, and we'll take it from there. There's a lot that I want to divulge into because it's so critical. This is what we've been talking about, the deconstruction. You want to defeat the deep state, you got to go back into history and properly understand what history is. So I guess we could do a few things off the Cullen thing and then get into everything else.
Sure. Well, I've got some. I actually have I have it like, what do you call it, queued up for some interesting stuff here. I don't know why it has Russian subtitles, but I must have. I don't know why that is, but that's fine. We'll just use it anyway. It'll make us look like we're cultured. Give me a second to share the screen. Here we go. As the first thing he covers is Pfizer, right? Yeah. Let me know if you get sound on this V. It should have sound, but let me know for sure if it does.
Here, so it's a very special
sound.
You get good to go?
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
So the letter denouncing you was really just kabuki. I mean, it was
kabuki. Yeah, it was trying to just put out the fire, and it did.
He's talking about when he's an Ivy League professor over at Cornell, and he's not afraid to say things. And he was actually talking about like COVID, and so they tried to cancel him, and that's kind of what he's talking about. But it's going to lead into something pretty key here.
And I paid a price. I lost a consulting gig at Pfizer because of it, because I was now a Nazi, and
Wait, Pfizer didn't stand by you?
I'd consult there for 20 years, and they were going to Zoom consulting. And Pfizer doesn't need a controversial consultant either. So they just cleared the deck as well. So I don't hold it against. What I hold against Pfizer is the vaccine. I don't hold. The guys I consult with at Pfizer were great guys. And Pfizer, they were trying to get their job done right, stuff like that. And
Why do you, as an organic chemist, why do you hold the vaccine against them?
Because I think it killed a lot of people.
Ooh, pause right there. So now this is starting to get critical, right? And we've been saying this, and so many other outlets have been saying this for years right now. In fact, but we are the only outlet, and I'm the only person that told you back in 2021 that by summer of 2022, they're going to be wrapping up this whole entire COVID BS. And the jab and talks about the jab are going to become prominent. And sure as shit, summer of 2022, it occurred. That was just what the data was saying, and it felt that way. And this is, so this whole thing, now that it's becoming mainstream, it's getting into the consciousness of, hey, these people don't have our best interests, these quote-unquote institutions. These white lab coat wearing morons are not in it for health. They're in it for profits. And that's starting to culminate not only to big pharma, but it's also going to big agri, big food, and big medicine. It's also starting to go into big education. Everything around us is a concocted and contrived and carefully formulated lie. Everything around us. And people are starting to hit this. People know, there are people out there that know someone, hey, you know what? They never had the coof, but their family member, their friend, a compadre, a coworker, somebody somewhere either dropped dead, had an adverse reaction, a side effect, or whatever due to the jab. And that is starting to become part of the mass consensus. And I don't know. And for me and for guys like us over here at Rogue, we're all wondering, okay, fine, this is great for mass consensus, but when are the action going to occur? That's what we're looking for. But people are starting to realize this. And again, folks, this is what when we had Ian Burlingame on the other day, and also when we had Courtney on was it Monday or Tuesday, right? When we had Courtney on Monday, excuse me, where we talked about that the collapse of the economic collapse is inevitable. It's going to happen. The most important thing is who's going to control the narrative on the other side of this thing. And you better bet your bottom dollar with Tucker and with all these guys right now, these mainstream outlets that are out there talking about the jab, talking about Zionism, talking about all these isms and these globalists, and understanding what they're doing is building a narrative towards this coming change. Because there is a side, look, I don't agree with everything the factions here are doing in the United States, right? The factions that are aligned with Tucker and Trump and Elon and whatnot. But at least, okay, they're giving us time, number one, and number two, they're not on the fast road to have us all killed. Okay, we're not on the fast road to oblivion here. And that's a good thing. Giving us time gives us abilities to prep, gives us abilities to think, gives us abilities to process information, right? So this interview with Dave Cullum is pretty critical, because there's a lot of normies, especially boomers, that either A, don't know about this, B, are just waking up to all of this, and C, they're starting to realize, holy crap, was I living a fever dream when I was growing up and had my head in the sand because I was too busy enjoying life? That holy crap, yeah, maybe my kids, my Gen X and Millennial and Gen Z kids and grandkids, yeah, maybe they can't buy a house no matter if they just quote unquote work harder, right? Maybe the time where I was able to buy a house with 2 pine cones and a chocolate bar, those days are over, right? And it's unbelievable that this is where things are culminating too. Go ahead, Cowboy. You want to add something to that?
Oh no, I can't say much more. I mean, if we were on the fast lane to dying, we're in like a rest stop, and next to us is Lindsey Graham.
In the stall, writing
Right.
writing his phone number on the bathroom wall. That's Lindsey Graham.
Yeah, tapping his
with the tagline for a good time call.
right.
$5.
Jesus.
And they knew it. I read so I started writing about COVID right away. You can imagine, right? As a scientist, I started networking. I started trying to figure it out. I'm in a group called Doctors for COVID Ethics for 4 years, where we had every major anti-vaxxer on the planet go through this group.
Wait, so you're a consultant to Pfizer. You're a pretty famous, probably one of the most famous organic chemists in the country. So if you say the Pfizer COVID vax killed a lot of people, it can't be dismissed as crank talk.
Well, it could be, because I'm
going to move ahead here. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but he does actually go a little bit more into our friend, the Fauci. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
There's imprinting periods, right? There's periods where you learn to read and write, or you're kind of in trouble. And so it was disastrous. It was absurd. And the whole thing was done by Fauci.
But how could...
And our Zoom group, by the way, had Scott Atlas. And so I asked Scott, I said, Scott, was it malicious? Fauci and Birx, did what they do was malicious? And I think it was. I mean, I think there's evil forces behind those two, but he took a different tact. He said, you cannot fathom how stupid those two are. That was his answer. He said, Fauci.
So we got him saying that Fauci and Birx are idiots, right? And he's going to elaborate a little bit on this. So we, for an entire 2 years, locked ourselves in our house, screwed up our economy, printed $7 trillion to go into the economy, got a bunch of people killed over 2 idiots that don't know what they're talking about, according to those idiots' peers. That's what we're hearing right now, right? And he elaborates a little bit on this.
Never gave a scientific argument, never. And he said, one day, this is astonishing. He said, one day, this is all recorded, so I'm not.
He was saying Fauci never gave a scientific argument, by the way. That's who he's talking about. But this is good to hear.
Yeah. Talking behind his back. There is a recording on the internet with this. He says one day he walks in with a scientific paper that Atlas had read. And so he's thinking, whoa, Fauci's actually going to say something scientific. Fauci went to say encephalomyelitis. Now, if you work at the 7-Eleven, you might stumble on that one. But if you're head of the entire health organization, you shouldn't. And he said he botched it so bad it was unintelligible. And Atlas said, come again? What'd you just say? And Fauci wouldn't repeat it. He said Birx was yanking shit off the internet, making pie charts, having not a clue what it meant. Not a.
All right, so the people who were engineering one of the craziest things in our history, the lockdowns, the mandatory jabs, they were basically getting shit off the internet and didn't know what they're talking about, according to another scientist who was the peer of that person. And we had all these people gaslighting us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a little bit more coming, but just we not only know, like, I didn't even know it was that bad. I thought Fauci might know what he's talking about a little bit. But, and there's a lot behind this, of course. We're not going to get too far into it. But what really matters is not just what he's saying, but who's hearing it, right? Like you said, the boomers. Right. So this guy here, he's a boomer talking to someone who boomers listen to. I mean, he's going to say a couple things here in the next like 60 seconds that really need to be heard as well. So I'm just going to hit play.
Clue.
That's terrifying.
Now, here's the
hold on.
Christian Malice, though. He didn't speak up, I don't think.
Fauci.
Atlas. I think he sat there.
Can I ask you to back up just a moment, though? Mm-hmm. So you're describing now incompetence, but you alluded earlier to malice. What do you think the dark forces behind Birx and Fauci were?
Well, I think First of all, they love the fact we're talking about whether it came out of a lab in Wuhan, because that way we're debating whether to blame the Chinese or not, right? When in fact, I think it came out of a lab probably in North Carolina.
Hit pause. Exactly correct. And these are all things that we know. You know?
We said these things.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, but it's starting to surface. This needs to get to critical mass. We need to understand that what's been running here, because we financialized everything. And when you financialize everything, the incentive becomes profits. It doesn't become truth. When you financialize everything, the incentives becomes shareholders, not people, not health, not prosperity, not what's good for the country, not what's good for the community, not what's good for anything or anyone, but the very few handful of private equity. Private equity has destroyed America, has ruined America. It has subverted America. It has destroyed our financial markets. It's destroyed our economy. It's destroyed our industry. It's destroyed our academics. It's destroyed our education. It's destroyed our food supply. Show me a sector in our country that financialization hasn't destroyed. Show me one sector that hasn't been absolutely torched in the last 30 years because of private equity. Show me one.
I mean, that's what EM talks about. The whole EM theory is that it's private equity and financialization. He calls it the financialist kill chain. Yeah, he says it is the financialists who are ruining everything.
Yeah. Yep. Been saying it for years. When you financialize everything, I mean, there's a reason why your local municipal court has a Dun & Bradstreet number. There's a reason why your parking ticket is derivatized and traded on the back end as a derivative. There's a reason why it's all connected. It's all cut up. It's all concocted together in some sort of an amalgam of various financial instruments. The actual titles and ownership of which we don't even know. It's somewhere in the DTCC in 55 Water Street in New York City. We don't know. We have no clue. That's why we can't own anything. You own your house. You're paying a property tax to oblivion. You can't. You buy a car. You can't drive it unless you get permission from the state with an inspection sticker. Your car. I mean, think how dumb it is, bro. You know how clean modern automobiles are, and you got to go get an inspection. What are you inspecting? It's the most dumbest thing in the world. But you can't drive without it. You got to register your vehicle every year. Why? Why not just one and done? Every year you got to register it. Why? This is the insanity of where of what we come to. Why? And why is all of this? Because of financialization. It's terrible what's happening. And because of financialization is the reason why all the myths, all the lies, all of this has been created. Let's skip forward past the COVID bullshit because we already know all that.
There might be a little more about it that we want to hear. But it's not that long. The problem is the way it makes me skip forward with the chapters and stuff. So let's get it.
It was created or begun in North Carolina, then brought to Wuhan
to be elaborated, to be studied, So I think we took everything offshore because it got gain of function got banned in the U.S. But I don't think we banned it. There were something like 36 bioweapons labs in Ukraine of U.S. origin.
Yes.
So why is Ukraine perfect? Ukraine's perfect. To run a bioweapons lab, you need first world infrastructure.
Yeah.
And third world people to test shit on.
There you go.
No, we know, and we said this, and I think it came from either you or Velas, that when the operation started in Ukraine, one of the first things they did was take out something like 30 biolabs.
Yeah, 30 biolabs.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. It's like, look, there are so many U.S. Western biolabs scattered all throughout Africa. This is why these strange, mysterious diseases pop up out of nowhere, kill 20, 30 people, and then disappear. China, same thing. There's 104 biolabs surrounding China. Don't you think they're kind of paranoid? Why do you think they locked down when COVID happened? Oh, the Chinese, they're the source of the... No, it's not. Folks, I was ready for the whole COVID shenanigans back in December of 2019 before the first case in Wuhan even occurred in January 2020. I was already prepped for it. Why? Because the data team that I work with on the back end that nobody knows about, they were tracking shit that was coming out of close proximity in USAMRIID in Maryland. Okay, that is the U.S. Army's biowarfare laboratory, which because our government loves us so much, has USAMRIID close to a very close population. There was respiratory diseases that were occurring within a nursing home not too far from the base. So between that and all the other lung infections that were occurring all throughout the country in various parts, predominantly on the Northeast, where they blamed it on vaping. I don't know if you guys remember that. They blamed it on vaping. That's how I knew that something was about to occur. I was already prepped. Had all the things ready for lockdown, ready to go.
I was traveling I was in DC and North Carolina at that time. And I remember I had heard some things, and this was like November, might have been even October. And I remember I have an uncle who's a diplomat, pretty high level, and I was going to go to like a dinner with them, and it was going to be like this big deal. I had a suit, and I had caught a cold, and I told them, I'm like, guys, I'm going to stay home. I've heard some things going on, and I heard about some weird thing going on in China, and I don't want to get anybody sick. And I was the only person flying out and flying in that was wearing a mask. And that was like before anybody cared about masks. I'll walk on the plane, and me and like one Asian guy look at each other and like give the head nod, like, So yeah, we're so far ahead of the curve. We were wearing masks before anybody cared about masks, and then we started like taking the mask off when everybody else was too paranoid, didn't know what a mask would do. He goes on to, I'm not going to go too far into it. But he actually refers to what you can read in RFK's book about Fauci experimenting on foster kids.
Yeah, great book. The guy's an absolute villain. He's like Dr. Mengele's, protege.
He's Dr. Mengele's mentor. But dude, he's on foster children in our own country, and the kids would stop taking their experimental drugs because the kids were getting sick.
Yeah. But nobody cared because they're a bunch of foster kids. Who cares about foster kids?
Who cares? They're just
none of that. He was in New York City. He was in New York City doing it. Who cares? Not only were they foster kids, it's black kids. Nobody cares about foster black kids. Who cares? Let's just kill them all. That's the mentality of these fucking psychos, man. They're sick. They're sick in the head. And we knew this thing came out of USAMRIID. For those that don't know, that USAMRIID is short for U.S. United States Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases, also known as Fort Detrick, like what Velas was saying in the chat. But it's incredible. It's incredible. And why is it like that? Because financialization, it's never direct. It's always covert. It's always, it's always about subversion. Oh yeah, the Beagles thing was
the Beagles
horrible, man. They cut the vocal cords of the Beagles, they put them in a cage and locked them up, left them on like sands, and allowed sand fleas to eat their face.
Yeah,
seeing how long it's like. Who does experiments like that? You got to be a Satanist. You have to be a demoniac. I'd love to see Fauci hung by his own intestines. I'd love to see that. He deserves even less than that, to be honest with you. But go ahead.
Fauci's going to die, and his next life is going to be like in a pit of starved beagles.
I hope he's a starved beagle getting his face eaten by sand fleas.
Yeah, something. Now there's so much to do. I could go on. We could do 3 shows about this, but I'm kind of being picky and choosy. I don't want to take up too much time, but there's some good stuff here. So we're going to go on and talk about Anthony Weiner's laptop, of all things. You think Anthony Weiner? That's like 2019.
Yeah, whatever happened to Weiner's laptop?
Oh, wait till you hear what he has to say about that.
It's like, oh insurance. Shit. He has the insurance.
It's insurance, yeah. It's a kill switch.
I think you're a nutcase if you talk about all the things you think about. And I go, well, I think that ship has sailed. As I said to,
I thought that was the whole point of academic research, was the predicate for it, the basis of it is free thinking.
Well, but according to Douglas Murray, I'm not supposed to talk about it unless I'm an expert.
Well, you are a demonstrable expert.
Douglas Murray's
in your area. I mean,
which is not Diddy.
It's not Diddy. You're not a tenured professor of Diddy studies at Cornell.
We could have it. We have subjects and.
So you think the point of arresting Diddy was to shut down inquiry into what Diddy was doing?
Get the data, right?
Well, that's clearly the point of the
Hunter
first
Biden's
Jeffrey
laptop.
Epstein arrest.
Hunter Biden's laptop.
Tell me your view of Hunter Biden's laptop.
Well, Sydney, what's her name? Lawyer. Come on. Sydney Powell.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Elite lawyer. Now down a few notches because she worked for Trump, and that always gets you in trouble.
Yep.
Said that if Hunter Biden's laptop were ever released, no, if Anthony Weiner's laptop were ever released, the government would fall. Weiner's laptop had kill switches in it. I mean, it was filled with crap that wasn't supposed to be there. We never get to see it. Supposedly 9 cops watched the videos on Weiner's laptop. They had to keep leaving the room because they couldn't stand what they were seeing. And all 9 are now dead. And there's names and faces and deadness, right? They're real people. Now you can say, well, maybe they died for other reasons. I go, but it's still 9 cops.
Yeah. So, good point here. There was a Navy SEAL, and I forget who it was, and he was on Rogan, and he was talking about the Hillary Clinton, the what do they call it? The Deadpool. What was it? The Hillary Clinton.
It was a kill switch. Switch. Dead man switch.
No, the Hillary Clinton, like how many people around her are dead? Like
56, man. It's like 56 people.
It's 56 people, but there's a name for that. Anyway, whatever. It's so what that SEAL was saying, he said, I work, like what he was saying is that I'm a killer. I work body count. Thank you, short post. But the Hillary Clinton body count's what I'm trying to say. He says, I worked where we kill people and people die. Nobody's going to have that many, like nobody's going to have more dead people around them than I have. And she has more dead people around her than anybody I know. Like that's not normal. And that's what he's saying here. There's 9 cops who saw the video, 9 dead cops.
Yes. Right? Yes. Right.
Like
9 cops who saw the video, 9 dead cops. So I remember that.
You can't.
NYPD. Some hardened detectives were fucking crying.
Yeah. Like the frazzle drip and all that. So
yep.
That supposedly was on the laptop was frazzle drip, but I don't want to even say what that is, but you get the point here, right? And there's more to it. And he starts getting into like J6, and I'm not going to get too far into that. But the next thing he talks about that's key here is the Trump assassination attempt, right? So hopefully this, it makes
behind him,
kind of screws up the queue up, guys. So you kind of have to sit with it for a minute for him to get into the subject here.
That's obviously the question. I mean, you can look at all of these different stories, particularly the acts of violence, which are, because they are acts of violence, are, examined much more closely than any other kind of act. And it doesn't make any sense. I mean, the shooting of Trump a year ago in Butler, Pennsylvania.
I wrote about that
sense.
too. Everything. Do you know what I just read the other day? The guy who shot Thomas Crooks, right? There were bullets flying all over that place. But it was a catastrophically poorly set up defense of Trump. But the guy who shot Thomas Crooks was the same guy who organized the protection of Trump. And they say, he didn't get convicted of anything and other guys didn't. I go, well, so the guy who was in charge of making sure that after the assassination was done, he popped the assassin. Is somehow not getting prosecuted. Why am I?
Well, I completely missed that, dude.
I'm telling you, I'm skipping things. Like I have a list of maybe 15 things to talk about, and there's probably 50, right? I'm just picking the freaking cherries out.
I'm not shocked.
So you're saying he was the Jack Ruby figure here?
He was the Jack Ruby figure, yes. So what was odd about that story? Well, first of all the news agencies were there. This was a totally irrelevant rally in an irrelevant place, Butler, Pennsylvania.
Let's back up. The guy who shot at Trump and shot Trump in the ear, the guy who shot that guy was in charge of protecting Trump, right? Mm-hmm. Like the perfect guy to cover it up, basically. And he doesn't talk about this, but I remember it wasn't very long until that whole roof was all hosed down. All the evidence was cleaned off the roof where the guy was sitting who shot Trump. Mm-hmm. Whenever you have like any kind of a crime scene, they don't touch that for a long time.
Everything was hosed up, and they scrubbed his house. They scrubbed his house.
And he was on a BlackRock commercial.
Yes, he was.
And
Along
guess
with
who
the
else
other
was on a
would-be
BlackRock
assassin.
commercial?
Say again?
Guess who else was on a BlackRock related company commercial?
The second assassination attempt guy?
The guy who tried to shoot him in Florida on the golf course.
Correct.
He was involved in like Ukraine somehow, and he was in like, it was a BlackRock company, associated company. He was also on a commercial, and he found his way into trying to kill Trump too. Column's not going to mention any of that, but what he does say here is important.
Yeah. And there's a stranger story there. And again, I just pick up these shards, and sometimes they fit together into a story, and sometimes it's just put it in your head, keep it there until you get more detail. There's a guy sitting behind Trump named Joseph Fusca. Fusca is his last name.
Yeah. Joseph Fusca.
I've seen him before many times. He was by the QAnon guys, which are a bunch of whack jobs.
All right, so we'll skip a lot of this.
No.
You want to hear it?
I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
Okay.
Said to be, you're not going to believe it, said to be John F. Kennedy Jr. waiting to come back and save the world. And I'm going,
do you guys remember all that shit? Do you remember the JFK Jr. shit?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is I'm gonna let him talk here.
oh, you guys have lost your minds finally. You've really gone. It doesn't matter that that's a total crock. Fusca is this guy, and they say now his name is Fusca and whatever, blah, 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 blah. But he's one who supposedly is JFK Jr. in disguise. Fusca was there sitting right behind Trump. I go, of all the rallies, there he is.
Who is he?
I don't know. And what's really interesting, Trump
him...
gets shot, everyone's reacting, and Fusca's not. And then there's two pieces of footage. Now,
when you say you've seen him before, you've seen him in photographs before?
Oh, he had been talked about. I've dug down some deep rabbit holes and find this guy. So one of the things you discover, this as well as anyone, you think you're going down a rabbit hole and you discover Göbekli Tepe. You get down the rabbit hole and you go, there's an entire ecosystem down here that people don't know exists. Once you, it's like once you ask, how did Kennedy get killed? And you go, oh boy, that's troubling, right? And then Building 7, which you talked with Ron Johnson, who by the way was in our Doc Sim group, right? When I'm talking, we had everyone. Once you go on one or two of these, and you go, I can't trust anything. And I work in a field where you're supposed to be able to get the facts and say, now here's an odd story. A friend of mine's binding all my annual reviews that I write. I write one blog a year.
They go a little further into QAnon. I thought they would do it sooner. I don't want to take too much time on this, but what they eventually, and Tucker's the one who says it. Dave Collum says, well, I think it's a bunch of ex-spooks. Tucker says, I think it was there to siphon off energy. We've been talking about this for how long, V? How long have we been talking about QAnon being basically Operation Hope?
Yeah, for a while now, a couple of years.
And they say that here, and I just don't want to sit here and take too much time. The next thing they talk about, we won't listen to. He says Ukraine started out not a war. What it was, they brought troops across the border. Russia brought troops across the border to basically try to kind of keep Ukraine from going into NATO. And then the West wanted a war, and they made it into a war. But what I will move on to, he said that Ukraine was a police operation, started out as a police operation by Russia. And then, they were pushed into a war. But let's get into the Vegas shooting, guys. This is where we covered this. Like everything they're about to say, we said this, but they bring in a little bit more information. But this is really good, this part.
Velas did an absolute clinic on it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He put on a clinic.
Yeah, I mean, that's a clinic is like an understatement, what Velas did.
Jesus is looking at his feet. His name isn't Jesus, but it's something like that. Alan introduced him. This is the only interview you're going to do, and you got to get it off your chest. I'm going, oh shit, here we go. And then the handler's doing all the talking. Jesus is looking at his feet. And then we never hear about Jesus again. Probably he's in some shallow grave somewhere because he's too inconvenient. But
I tried to interview him at the time.
They're talking about a guy named Jesus. I don't remember the exact role, but what they were saying was that Ellen DeGeneres was the only person allowed to interview him, and I believe she is like owned by the same company that owns Mandalay. So they're getting into that, but they're going to pass that up in a second. So keep listening.
Really?
Yes.
Couldn't get to him, could
he
you?
drove to Mexico from Vegas.
Right.
Two of them did.
Yeah, probably with an escort.
Yeah, then he came back, and I tried my hardest.
Now, Alan works for the company that owns Mandalay.
His handler.
Yeah. No, Ellen DeGeneres.
Oh, Ellen, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so they're buttoning it down. Now, what you see from Route 41 videos is there's just an enormous amount of chaos. There's enormous numbers of shooters. Even that night, you were seeing videos from cab drivers saying they're shooting over here, they're shooting over there. And there would be some chaos, but there's way too much. There's guys who took audios and said, here, bam, 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 and here, that. And so you could hear multiple guns, the whole thing. So then what happened? Mike Kronk, I start reading trauma surgeons saying there's something wrong with the story. If you get hit with, what was it, AR-15 or something?
Yeah.
You're
a 308.
You're
rifle.
gonna die out there. You're gonna bleed out right there. Even if it doesn't hit a major artery, it's gonna turn your leg to jello.
3 chest wounds from a rifle?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what would he look like? And so then I saw an interview of a young woman, and she's sitting there in a chair in the hospital, and they're interviewing her. I'm going, you look pretty perky. And then Mike Kronk with the news crew goes in and interviews his friend. Now, first and foremost, we know HIPAA says you ain't bringing a news crew into a hospital room. Second, we know 3 shots to the chest, he'd be in the ICU. The only way you'd know he's alive is that there'd be a beeping on the screen, and he'd have hoses coming out of every orifice, and he would look dead. And so they take the news crew and they interview his friend. He's got a nasal cannula. So I'm sitting there thinking, oh, so you're talking with 3 holes in your chest. What are you sticking your fingers so the air doesn't come flying out of your chest holes? Right. And then I notice the screen's not even plugged in. Now, what is Mike Kronk now? He's a state senator from Alaska. In Alaska. I think he's a state senator.
Stand by. That's what matters here. So they had what appears to be like a crisis actor who got shot 3 times in the chest. And then I skipped over this, but they claimed that he was putting his fingers in his own chest to stop from bleeding.
Yeah, bullshit. Right.
Yeah, bullshit. You're dead.
You're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even a 223 or 5.56 is not a very big round, but the high velocity would basically blow you apart. I mean, you're and on top of that, now they're interviewing him while he's got holes in his chest, and now he's a state senator. But wait, there's more.
Senator.
What?
Yeah. Who's the chief of police? He became governor of Nevada or something. Right? So again, there's a guy named John Cullen who did an analysis of the shooting, and his conclusion.
A relative?
A relative?
Yeah.
No. It's spelled different. John worked for Oracle. He's some on the spectrum code head. He also analyzed the Butler shooting, the audios of the Butler shooting.
He's an on the spectrum code head.
He's on the spectrum code head. He sort of bears down and grabs on something a little too firmly, I think. But he brings
as on the spectrum
data.
code heads.
Yeah,
too,
I know.
yeah.
And there was pretty good evidence that a lot of the shooting was coming from helicopters behind the Mandalay, and he tracked the transponders turning on and off behind the Mandalay. The story was that Mohammed bin Salman was on the top floor.
The crown prince of ruler of Saudi Arabia.
Yes, a guy who lots of people would like to kill. And his theory is that the Saudis tried to flush him out of there, and on the way out, they would cap him.
Okay,
now
we covered this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if it was Velas or if it was UV, but you guys were saying that this whole thing actually may have been the main aim of that whole thing was to take out MBS.
Correct.
And why would they want to do that?
Well, MBS is look, the American dream is built on Saudi pipelines. And MBS was literally turning Saudi Arabia away from being petroleum and dollar centric and opening up its sales to non-dollar settlement. That's a big no-no. That's a big no-no. That's what Gaddafi did on top of trying to create a Pan-African currency. And they whacked them, right? MBS, he did this, and he was shifting it away from City of London Corp. So this is the hit on him. Because you got to understand, Merkin, Crown Prince Merkin, who is a City of London Corp patsy, who is a City of London Corp lackey, was supposed to be the heir apparent, was supposed to be the new crown, the new king in Saudi Arabia, not MBS, but King Salman chose MBS because MBS is the son of King Salman's favorite wife, who happens also to be Syrian, right? So this is the whole entire hit on him. And this is also, you got to also understand, right before this Vegas shootout, remember what was occurring in the Grand Palace in Saudi Arabia and Riyadh. There was a shootout. People forget about this. And then shortly after the shootout, MBS imprisoned many of the princes in the Grand Hotel over there and prevented any of them from leaving, took all their assets, the whole line, until he figured out who's where and what's what. And then this Vegas shooting occurred. But go ahead, man.
They blew it. If that's the story, they blew it. I think the helicopter idea is not bad. But I did a couple of podcasts with John, and I said, John, but what about all the shooting on the ground? And John was kind of dismissive. I go, you can't dismiss it. You can't let that stuff go. Your model's got to include that. But it occurred a year later. Mohammed, remember when Khashoggi got killed? Yeah. What was his name? Jamal Khashoggi. Mm-hmm. Now, a non-Khashoggi is one of the most famous CIA guys on the planet. Jamal Khashoggi is the one who got diced up and fed to the camels. Yeah. Now, he's a New York Times reporter. I think he was also CIA.
Washington double agent columnist. Yeah, and he was killed
in the embassy
in Istanbul, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was also a double agent.
Supposedly, on the anniversary of the Vegas shootings, supposedly Mohammed bin Salman had a party, locked the doors, and showed a video of him getting sliced up and said to the royal sitting in the room, don't even think about it. Now, when I wrote about Khashoggi, everyone was having a cow over Khashoggi, right, when he got killed. I'm going, we're killing tens of thousands of Yemenis. We killed 5 million people in the Middle East directly and indirectly due to our post 9/11 responses, yes. Right? And I called him ODK, one dead Khashoggi. I said, it is insane to worry about one dead guy in a region of the world where people die for no reason all the time.
Who is at war with his own government, the Saudi government? I mean, I'm obviously not for vivisecting people, but I also think
there's more. One of the things that I would have shown if we had more time, because we'd probably move on to something else here, but he talks also about World War II revisionist history.
Oh yeah.
Claims that FDR's number one guy was a Soviet spy. He pretty much ruined everything. I mean, I don't want to mischaracterize it, but Patton had said, well, we should have fought with Hitler instead of Stalin, and maybe there would be no Holocaust if we had done that. And so there's a lot of things this guy talks about.
Here's the thing people need to understand, right? The majority of people that died in the Holocaust, these were prisoner of war camps, right? These were internment camps and POW camps. And there was all sorts of, there was a civilian crisis where you had so many civilians, so many people that were just caught up in the middle of this transcontinental war. So many cities with tens of millions of people. Well, what do you do with all these civilians? A lot of these civilians were put into camps alongside Jews and everybody else. And when the Allies began to bomb the supply chains and supply lines, food and shelter and all these other things, medications and whatnot, could not get to these camps. That is what created the death and the destruction there. Okay? I'm not saying it's the primary thing, but it is one of the main things. And that's for anybody with a level head who studies it. And that's how you wind up with the with the inflated numbers of what died in the Holocaust. It wasn't 6 million Jews. 6 million Jews didn't die in the Holocaust. That's a fact. 279,000 to be exact is what every expert puts it at. And this is verboten. This is verboten to be speaking about this, but that's the truth. So we have a lot. This revisionist history occurred because it fits the financialists and it fits the globalists, the banksters narrative. But go ahead, Cowboy.
No, I think that's enough. People should really just go watch that video. It's the latest Tucker Carlson video, Dave Collum, and we've scratched the surface. I mean, it's a 2-hour video, and it's got so much in it, including the Maui fires. Says that was a land grab. They cover directed energy weapons. Now, he's not saying that they used it in Maui. In fact, he thinks maybe they didn't. But he says that 40 years ago we had very advanced directed energy weapons. It's the whole Star Wars thing.
Sure.
Man, this guy, I mean, he's pretty smart. And I listened to it at 1.5 speed, and it makes everybody sound like way smarter. I listen to everything at like 1.5, 1.75. If somebody talks quickly, then I have to dial it back to 1.5. But they say that's like people who have ADHD listen to things.
It's a Virgo trait.
Yeah, just give me the fucking info. But yeah, man, I know we had a lot of stuff we could cover. It's also the hour is up, so maybe we move on to
let's touch base real quick on anything else you want to cover, like let's say Jay Powell, the rate cut coming up.
I didn't even know what he said. I was just watching the charts, and and everything went up as if he said we're probably going to have a rate cut. He did kind of indicate it. Just very lightly a day or two ago. So if I go to Zero Hedge,
right now there's an article right there with our boys over at Zero Hedge. Bonds and bullion bid as Fed Chair Powell delivers dovish remarks. Yeah, and then so they have to. They got to get the bubble going. Look, when you're in the financialized world where the fire economy runs everything, where everything is based on speculation and not actual physical reality, the only trick you have is to keep blowing bubbles. And this is what they have to do. 37 trillion in debt, but when you count the entitlements that we have here, it's close to 200, 300 trillion?
Unfunded liabilities.
Unfunded liabilities, yeah. Unfunded, it's 200-300 trillion. We're going to keep blowing bubbles. There's no recourse to this until it implodes. It's run to failure. Remember run to failure.
The other side of it is I think Trump wants to do like public works projects, and he's not going to get a whole lot of help from Congress at this point. So, and it's kind of my own theory here, but I believe he wants to be able to give people in private equity the capability to raise the funds for those kind of projects, try to do it through the corporations. That's just my own idea. And then of course we had FBI rating. What's that?
War Stash. He got raided. War Stash got raided.
Yeah, War Stash got raided. The FBI raids oh shoot, man! What the hell is he? Bolton, John Bolton. I want to say Michael Bolton. Tell me, how am I? No, it's John Bolton. Supposed to live without my documents. The whole thing with Trump and raiding Mar-a-Lago. Some of the theories out there, they did it the whole thing over the documents, right? What do you call it? Classified records. And well, I mean, Biden had a bunch of classified records. No one really had shit to say about that, but they go raid Mar-a-Lago. Well, they think maybe Mar-a-Lago had records that were going to be used against people that are probably being used against them right now. Trump himself is not an idiot. I guarantee you, if he had records there, he had them elsewhere. That's like basic. You watch TV, you got to do that. But they came after Bolton for a probe into handling classified records. So it's kind of like, it's almost like a very clear message. Like, okay, you know what? We could do this to you too. Like,
I'll get excited. I'll get excited when they actually do a raid on Obama or the Clintons or something, and actually something comes of it. What's going to happen to Bolton? Maybe a slap on the wrist, right? Yeah, how much of this is just for optics and just to energize the base, so the people will think, something's being done. See, it's happening. The arrests are coming, Cowboy.
Well, I like to see him being harassed personally, because
I like to see him get punched in the face. But that's my better.
I like to do the punching. I beat him right in his mustache.
Yeah, oh my God, his mustache is bulletproof from what I heard. The rumors have it.
That's true. That's true. They probably lined it with some Kevlar.
Yeah, it's saying right
Actually-
now, breaking federal agents right now in John Bolton's home going through things following early morning FBI raid in the D.C. area over national security concerns. Yes, we did indeed vote for this. This is Bolton's primary residence. Okay, sure. All right, great.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fun. It's fun news. That's for sure. It's nice to see it happen to somebody on the deep state side for once. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, anything else you wanted to cover there?
No, we got the rate cut. We got Bolton. We got War Stash. Anything else promoting?
I know Tulsi Gabbard did classify basically any of the negotiations between the U.S. and Russia, such that they can't. Anybody in the State Department or anywhere else can't talk about what those negotiations are being, how they're being conducted, what's being said. Mind you, we all know that all that stuff is going to get leaked, right? You can't keep that stuff quiet, but or good chance you can't. But what that would do is if anybody is caught sharing that information, then of course they could be arrested. And I think that's more the idea, is to possibly ensnare people in a trap. So that's how I see it.
Then we have Donat Trumpovich. Donat. He is what is it? He's lamenting stall the Ukraine peace talks while simultaneously urging new attacks on Russia. Well, and if you came away with the Hollywood contrived thing that Trump was holding the cards when it came to that meeting with Putin in Alaska, I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn, man. It's just hilarious. Now, merely a week out from when President Trump and Putin met in Alaska, the White House's admirable peace efforts seem to be unraveling and even hopelessly stalled. Many independent-minded analysts, and from the very start, said that this conflict would ultimately be settled on the battlefield, and it's Russia that's going to settle it. On Monday, Trump boasted and quickly brokered peace to end the bloody Ukraine conflict. By Thursday, he was saying that Kiev had no chance of winning the war without new attacks on Russia. It's like a great team in sports that has a fantastic defense but is not allowed to play offense, Trump posted on social media. Interesting times ahead. His turnaround underscored the fading optimism. I was going to say the frauding. The fading optimism about
Same thing.
Trump's latest push to end the war. Folks, this is all theater. Like, who the hell cares? This is all theater. Like, these Western lackeys, the United States and Donald Trump included, thinking that they're going to somehow dictate to the Russians,
I will tell you something interesting about that conflict that's beyond all this bullshit. Alex Craner on his Substack did a 30-minute video, and what he said was that England is being bankrupted because Ukraine is defaulting on the loans that Britain paid.
because it was City of London that actually underwrote all the loans from Russia to Ukraine, and also from the EU to Ukraine as well. Yes.
From Russia to Ukraine, or from
both. I actually reported this in 2014, April of 2014. I let it be known that about the loans, but they're going to default on. They have no way of paying it.
And so
Alex is right about that.
Well, and what he's saying is that now what they're going to do, England's going to just make the taxpayers pay for it over there. So basically what they're going to do is they're going to start cannibalizing their financial system and doing repos, and they're already broke. It isn't like they have the US dollar economy. It isn't like the euro dollar system is there to fund them. It isn't like they can just play with LIBOR and go ahead and use that to cover this defaulted loan. So in a sense, that might capsize their, at least a good part of their, something's going to break over in their financial system over that. So, I mean, in a way, this business of keeping the war going, it is not good for England in a financial sense, because we're not, ideally we're not going to pay for any more of it. Who knows? Seems like we might, but in a way, and I'm not saying this is 5D chess. I do think the 5D chess thing is a little overused. I think that also, look, the one of the things in that video with Dave Collum, one of the things he says is that yes, the kayfabe is real. The WWF-ness of the government is a thing. And statecraft can be complex. It doesn't, not everything is fucking dominoes. We don't want to take it too far in saying there's no deeper strategy, because that in and of itself is now a psyop. For us to think that there is no deeper strategy, that's also a psyop, right? So I would be really careful about that. And it may be that, for example, it's a pretty clear thing that if Zelensky is in power, Russia gets to continue the conflict. And if Russia gets to continue the conflict, the more land they will gain. If the conflict is stopped, we're going to get peace, and peace is just a time when everybody reloads.
Yeah, I think right now, in terms of, U.S. defense contractors are making money hand over fist. The Euro weenies are absolutely getting butchered and bled dry, and so is the UK. And the Russians are doing they're testing their next generation weapons, so they have a platform to do that, and the military is gaining all sorts of experience. So, I guess in that regard, you could look at it from that level with the data and be like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, the unfortunate thing is millions of people are dying. At least they're guessing a couple million Ukrainians. And who knows how many?
Almost 2 million Ukis are dead, at like 1.8 million and rising.
And maybe even a couple of maybe a couple 100,000 Russians. We don't know.
Yeah, about 120,000 is what they're saying.
Yeah, so I mean, look, that's the part that sucks. Like, you never want to see people dying. But I am of the opinion that if this war is not taken to a very high level, or not high level, but if they don't progress this thing and take out as much of Ukraine as possible, we're just going to get another Minsk agreement. And as Tom Luongo pointed out, they admitted that Minsk was just a chance for Ukraine to reload.
Yeah.
And they admitted it. Like, they admitted that, hey, we just agreed to that just to give Ukraine time.
Yep.
So, I mean, why would Russia trust any kind of peace agreement? And you'll notice that they did like their heaviest duty bombing during those peace talks. Like, the heaviest duty attacks were during those talks. And there are theories out there. We had a bunch of financial people at the Alaska talks. Who knows, what did they spend 30 minutes on Ukraine, and the rest of the day was talking about something else?
Yeah.
Right. So I get the feeling that stopping the war is not the biggest thing on the agenda between the US and Russia. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
And it's like everybody agrees with that. And if now you have Europe, they've got to foot the whole bill if you believe that we're not going to give any more money, right? So that's just going to bankrupt Europe. Fine. I mean, if it all has to go this way, then you take the good with the bad, right? So, again, I don't want to be so quick to be like, yes, it's all in the plan and everything, but I also don't want to be so quick to say, oh, no, that's not in the plan, because deeper things have happened in wartime history. Deeper plans have been proven to occur, and we're only in future times learning from the past. So that's all I have to say on the matter.
Yeah, very well said. And with that, folks, we're at the end of the show. We'll be back Monday. Keep it locked. Keep it loaded. Monday. Do we have anybody on? It's you and me, right?
Yeah, it's you and me.
Perfect. That's it. So get a lock and load for Monday. Then Tuesday we got Ben Kelleran. Wednesday we have Gus. Thursday we have EM. Friday we have Velas. So keep it locked and loaded right here. And then next week I'm gonna be starting my my ranting. I don't know what I want to call it, man. I don't know if it's gonna be guerrilla rants or I have no idea.
We'll think of something.
Yeah,
I could be there. I'll just be doing the airwave thing.
I want you to be the airwave thing, man. Yeah.
Just breathing softly in your ear.
Breathing softly, bro. Just as I speak, as I rant, I just want you to be in the back. Just breathe heavily.
Okay.
Like a creeper.
No homo.
Yeah, just like a creeper.
Oh, fudge.
Oh, man. All right, folks. Enjoy your weekends. I'm the gorilla. He's the cowboy. And we're over and out. Cheers.